Steve welcomes me. Blue sets up a game of Blue's Clues, in which Steve will have to search for notes that will later lead him to clues. Steve understands the new method. After Steve hears Tickety, he walks into the bedroom and spots her on the chest. She gives him the first note in the form of a riddle. Tickety's riddle was, "Your first clue is in the room where you usually find a spoon." Steve uses Tickety's note to find the first clue. Steve enters the kitchen and was not sure if he should look for a spoon. As he does, Mr. Salt paces back and forth, muttering to himself about spices, and is likely worried about his wife, Mrs. Pepper. Steve told him that he was looking for a spoon and did not realize that Mr. Salt had a paw print on himself. When Steve got out a wooden spoon, and he then realized that Mr. Salt had a paw print on him, when he finally found the spoon, he finds that Mr. Salt was the first clue. He draws Mr. Salt and asks me, what could Blue be trying to tell them about Mr. Salt? Mr. Salt then gives Steve another note leading to Shovel and Pail. We then play a treasure hunt game with them. The first hint was a bird plus a house. When bird plus house was put together, it led them to the birdhouse. At the birdhouse, they found another hint. The hint was letters plus a box. When letters plus box was put together, the answer was mailbox and went to mailbox, but a treasure box. When Steve opened the treasure box, the treasure dust came out. Shovel and Pail told Steve to read the message inside. Steve did so, and the riddle was, your second clue will make you sneeze. It's used in lots of recipes. Steve gives a note to Shovel and Pail. Well, he finds the second clue. Steve thinks in his head about what the riddle told him, then found the second clue in a picture of Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper. The paw print was on Mrs. Pepper's side of the picture. Mrs. Pepper doesn't appear due to her being in the process of childbirth. With my help, Mrs. Pepper was the second clue, and the answer to the riddle because of the way pepper makes people sneeze and is used in recipes for cooking. Steve draws Mrs. Pepper. After Steve drew Mrs. Pepper, he reviews the two clues and wonders what could Blue be telling Steve and the others with Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper. Steve thinks in his head, and then a sneeze was heard out of nowhere. Steve asks me, was that you sneezing? And I didn't think that I did. A felt friend was the one who was sneezing. The felt friend had some riddles. The first riddle was, what has a skinny tail, big ears, and weighs a ton? The answer was an elephant. The second riddle was, what is green and bumpy and tastes sour? The answer was a pickle. After solving the felt friend's riddles, it was mail time. Then Mailbox had another riddle for Steve. His riddle was, who wears a green striped shirt and hooks for Blue's Clues all day? Steve answered that it was him. Mailbox gives Steve the letter for answering correctly. After getting the mail, Steve opens up the letter, and it was a letter from our friend. A girl is drawing a story with markers about her news of her grandma bringing cookies to her house. And her grandma just brings her some cookies and milk, asking her what she says. The answer is thank you. After reading the letter, Steve closes the letter to the opposite way and saw a picture of Slippery on the back of the letter. Steve goes to him in the bathroom, and Slippery asks him, you figured out the big news yet? And he slips. Slippery asks Steve to give a message to his friend who lives on a chalkboard. Slippery's message was, hi, I miss you. Love, Slippery. Then Steve goes to a chalkboard and saw Blue skidoo into the chalkboard. Then he skidooed into the chalkboard as well. Steve was amazed. He was in chalk world. He gets out a piece of yellow chalk and draws a pair of chalk birds. Next he draws a river, but the river starts to flow. He had to draw something to take him and Blue across it. I told him to draw a boat, and he draws one. Steve staggers a little in the boat as it starts to float on its own, and then Blue appears inside with him. Now they had to go searching for Slippery's friend. Steve and Blue were not moving in the boat because they needed something to make the boat move, so Blue draws an oar so they can. After that, they were off to find Slippery's friend. Just then, a big shockwave came their way. I suggest that they move faster. Blue paddles the boat faster, and Steve tries to blow the wave back, but nothing seemed to work. Since Steve and Blue are in chalk world, however, they can erase it, so Steve uses an eraser to erase the big waves. Steve was then relieved and puts the eraser down. After a while, a sentient chalk bubble floated past Blue and Steve, who thought he saw Slippery's friend. When the bubble floated back to them, Steve asks him, oh, excuse me, are you Slippery's friend? And he says, yep, that's me, with my help. Steve explained that he and Blue had a message for him from Slippery and repeated the message Slippery told them to give. Slippery's friend replies, "Oh, thanks," and asks, "Hey, are you Steve?" Who replies, "Yes." Slippery's friend had a message for Steve, and Blue says, "Your last clue holds a drink and is closer than you think." Steve pictured the riddle in his head and said, "Well, thanks, Slippery's friend," and then they learned that his name was Sudsy as he left. After Blue draws the picture home, they both scooted out of Chalkworld to find the third clue. They find it on a bottle, which answers the riddle because a bottle holds a drink. Steve draws the bottle in his notebook, and then he goes to the thinking chair, tries to put all three clues together. Steve reviews the clues on Mr. Salt, Mrs. Pepper, and a bottle, and he is trying to figure out what Blue could be telling Steve and the others. Steve thought they had a new bottle, but that was not the answer. He looks at the clues again and finally figures out what the clues mean. Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper are having a baby. Everyone heads to the kitchen and spot Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper with a baby in their hands. The two new parents named their new baby daughter Paprika, and Steve tickles Paprika under the chin. As the rest of everyone join them, Blue gives Paprika a picture, welcoming her to the family. Steve sings the So Long song.